with Scott Cornell. Scott, thanks for jumping on.
Good to see you.
Likewise. So we're sitting here at TAPA and just wanted to hear a little bit about what you're doing, kind of the role that you're playing both with this organization and what you do and your other one of many hats that you wear.
Yeah, I'm currently the Chief Risk Officer at SPG Cargo Logistics. We're an insurance MGA that caters to the supply chain and transportation, and specifically freight brokers and intermediaries, but basically the entire supply chain really. And then today we're at the National Summit, and I am honored to currently be serving as the chairman for TAPA Americas. This is our largest summit ever, so we're really excited. I think it came off really well. We have over 400 attendees, great speakers. It's a great day so far.
Yeah, and walking through there and seeing all the vendors, I'm seeing cameras, I'm seeing some sort of robot,
yeah,
I'm seeing locks, and
yeah, it's amazing, right? The technology is crazy. Yeah.
Is there anything particular that's sticking out, this year compared to previous years? I think this might be my third time in attendance for the T1.
I think the conversations around the shifts. I think one of the things that was done well this year was the splitting up of the law enforcement panels, so we're more specific to regions. I think that's great, but I think the law enforcement panels in particular are doing a really good job of speaking to the industry about how to communicate with them, what information they need, if they need assistance, how to report the thefts, what jurisdiction looks like, those types of things. I think those are critical. I see a lot of confusion around that with my clients when they reach out to me. Who do I report it to? I can't get the officer to take the report. They think it's a civil matter. Well, a lot of that, most of the time, has nothing to do with the police officer. It has to do with the person calling the police officer and confusing that officer with how they're describing the theft or not being able to explain the theft. So it may sound like a dispute between a carrier and a freight broker or something like that when it's actually a theft.
Yeah, and I guess I've heard it said, coming to these events, networking.
Yes.
Why is this important?
Because cargo theft is a very specialized field, not only in the private sector, but in law enforcement as well, right? There's task forces around it. The average police officer may never see a cargo theft in their entire career, right? Whereas in certain areas, you're going to see it more often, or if you are a police officer that hasn't seen it before, how do you approach it? Who do you deal with? We have several law enforcement attendees today that are new to it, right? And they're here networking with task force members, law enforcement members that have been doing it for years or decades, or retired law enforcement members that were task force members like Gerardo that we both know, right? Who's more than willing to share his knowledge with those those officers that are new to this field and everything like that. And then from the private sector, it's knowing the specific officers that are addressing this. Because when you have to call the 911 switchboard, that's when it can get confusing. It doesn't get to the right person, things like that. Knowing that in California, you have to report it to the jurisdiction where it took place, but then you also have to make the task forces, the relevant task force, depending on jurisdiction, aware, hey, I have a report in this town, but now it's probably going to be grabbed by one of the task forces, depending on jurisdiction, but you have to make them aware. So that networking is critical. And then just knowing all the right people, right? Take law enforcement out of the picture. I get calls all the time at all sorts of hours and on weekends, weekdays. Hey, we've had a theft. We've never had a theft before. What do I do? Well, if they don't know myself or a Keith Lewis or somebody like that, who do they call, right? So doing this networking and knowing who you can reach out to that might have experience or knowledge in it, it's critical because, again, it's very specialized.
Yeah, and those are all good points. And I know, we're both on a advisory group with like the TIA, and they put out some things about how to report. I know you're instrumental in putting that information together. So I think that's really, for me, I appreciate, because I like disseminating this out to people, companies we work with, and those ones that we don't. I know the networking effect is really powerful. And then as far as, cargo theft, for us, we believe an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. What are some things that, companies could be doing? There's platforms that, some are starting to utilize. Some people are trying to handle things in-house. What are your thoughts on that part of, the prevention?
Well, I think the prevention part is key. I think that cargo theft recoveries in today's environment are much more difficult. Again, I've been doing this for 33 years. It's much more difficult to recover freight today than it was even 6 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago when I was doing it, right? Now, in particular, you look at the CTIPS task force, the LA County Sheriffs, LAPD, the different task forces in California in general, they're hitting warehouses constantly. But even still, that's a small percentage of the overall freight that's being stolen. And we know that a lot of the freight today is being moved out of the country, depending on the commodity, depending on where it's stolen, it's being moved out of the country. Well, so that puts even more stress on, you must prevent the theft in the first place, because your chances at recovering it are much lower than they used to be. So now prevention is key. Now, you know me, I've said it a million times, there's no silver bullet. You can't go out there and buy anything. I think if you go out there and you rush to technology, it will always fail you, right? Because if that's your mentality of, hey, I just need to buy this thing or invest in this platform or subscribe to this, and that's all I need to do, it will fail you. There's nothing out there that's being offered as this is all you need to do.
Well, yeah, watching a few videos on YouTube about working out and then paying for a membership doesn't give you
Exactly
fitness.
right. That's a perfect example, right? So I do think you have to develop your own process and procedures in-house. I think the TAPA, Freight Broker Security Requirement Standard, that we built and launched in 2015 for members is a fantastic foundation of, here's the good process and procedures that you need to have your own in-house prevention and vetting process and everything like that if you're a freight broker, right? And then as part of that, you add platforms or technology to enhance that internal process that you have. That's the winning formula, you know.
So if I'm looking at like construction, basically that's your building code for how to put up a foundation and the frame,
right,
and the sheathing, but then you get to choose how you want to decorate it and what kind of texture of the walls you want to have, right?
So,
but it'll be sound. It'll be a
yep,
sound building at that point.
It's a great analogy. And we have, we have standards we have the TSR for transportation security requirements, the FSR for facility, we have cyber, we're coming out with the parking standards, we have the freight broker security requirements. So depending on what role you play in the supply chain, there's a great guideline there that can give you a foundation in any of those areas of prevention.
Okay. Well, I mean, a lot of solid information. Scott,
Yeah.
thanks for jumping on.
Thanks for having me.